The one thing you want to avoid like the plague in the B12 category, and I get a lot of for this, but is a form of B12 called cyanocobalamin. Can we pull something up on here? Sure. Can you go to Google? Basically, it's a cyanide-based form of B12.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? So today we're going to be talking about whether or not B12 supplementation in the form of cyanocobalamin is safe or not. I came across somebody named Gary Brecka on Joe Rogan, everybody's favorite podcast to discover information, who describes himself as a biohacker, there's the first red flag, and a human biologist on the basis of having a bachelor's in human biology from the National College of Chiropractic and a bachelor's degree in biology from Frostburg State University. Seeing as he describes himself as a biohacker, I wasn't surprised to find out that he obtained one of his biology degrees from a chiropractic school. Now, obviously, I am largely opposed to the appeal to authority fallacy when trying to find out what is true, so we won't be looking at his credentials as evidence for his claims being untrue. I think that we ought to evaluate the veracity of his claim that cyanocobalamin B12 supplements are toxic by appraising the evidence he provided for them. But I still felt it was worth mentioning his credentials only because I think it is a little dishonest to describe yourself as a human biologist when all you have to show for it is 2 bachelors in human biology, one of which is from a chiropractic school. But as just stated, we can't look at his credentials for evidence of his claims being wrong. So let's go ahead and look at some of the evidence he cited for his claims. Oh wait, he didn't actually cite any evidence. He just went ahead and showed that there was indeed cyanide in cyanocobalamin supplements.
The one thing you want to avoid like the plague in the B12 category, and I get a lot of for this, but is a form of B12 called cyanocobalamin. Can we pull something up on here? Sure. Can you go to Google? Basically, it's a cyanide-based form of B12.
Right. The most bioavailable forms are called methylcobalamin, hydroxycobalamin, and adenosylcobalamin. Just go to Google and put in cyanocobalamin. Okay, cyanocobalamin, and then put a space and put the word PubChem. So I'm going to take you to the National Library of Medicine at the National Institute of Health. You can go here. We're on their public chemical site, and you can look up this form of B12. You see how it says cyanocobalamin B12? Can you scroll down to section 5.3? So if I want to see the component compounds, like what is this made out of? I can go right here to section 5.3 and I can look at its component compounds. Can you click on hydrogen cyanide? So this is a flammable, acute toxic, health hazard, environmental hazard. By the way, this is the most common form of B12 in the world. Right? We put this in Flintstone vitamins, we put it in all kinds of vitamins. The body can't even use this, so it has to be converted into hydroxycobalamin. It's astounding that we're allowed to do this, right?
Did he show health outcome data in these clips showing that, the dosage of cyanide in these supplements is toxic? No, he just showed that there was indeed cyanide in them, therefore they're toxic. Now, here is the most confusing part, and I had to watch this multiple times to make sure I wasn't tripping. Notice I am wanting evidence showing that the particular dosage of cyanide in these supplements is problematic. This is because I think demonizing chemicals and products per se is silly, and that it is the dosage that matters. As many of you have probably heard, the poison is in the dose. So he actually criticizes this idea explicitly and says,
because in the US we use something called single dose toxicity to determine whether or not something is dangerous for you. Right, and people that say things like the dosage determines the poison, that is pathetically nonsensical.
And here is his reasoning for saying it is nonsensical.
That is pathetically nonsensical because nobody gets mercury poisoning from a single, allowable dose of mercury. Nobody gets chemical poisoning from a single small dose of a chemical.
I'm just so confused here. To support his claim that the notion, quote, the dosage makes the poison is nonsensical, he says, quote, because nobody gets mercury poison from a single allowable dose of mercury or another chemical. It's like, yeah, exactly. You're literally proving the point that the dosage makes the poison. I want you guys to hear it again.
People that say things like the dosage determines the poison, that is pathetically nonsensical because nobody gets mercury poisoning from a single, allowable dose of mercury. Nobody gets chemical poisoning from a single small dose of a chemical.
Like what? But just wait, it gets worse.
But let's go down here. Go to view more at the bottom. Just read that sentence right there. See, hydrogen cyanide is a highly toxic. See that?
Yeah, highly toxic conjugate acid of cyanide that is used as chemical weapon agent. What?
Yeah, that's what we make our
characterized
B12
as a
from.
colorless gas or liquid. What? So if you're taking B12 supplements and they have that in it, you're getting this.
You're getting that.
And you're essentially taking poison.
Essentially, you're taking cyanide-based B12.
Yeah, so obviously at a certain dose, cyanide can be used as a chemical weapon. This only further supports the notion that the poison is in the dose. But hold on, this isn't the part I meant when I said it gets worse. Here it is.
The argument is it's not enough cyanide to cause harm, right? So, which I agree with. There's safe levels of mercury. There's safe levels of fluoride.
Just what? This is how I view the clips we just watched. Hey dude, so you probably shouldn't take cyanocobalamin B12 supplements because they contain cyanide. I mean, some people say the dose is in the poison, and so there isn't enough cyanide in these pills to cause harm, which I think is nonsensical. By the way, I actually agree with this nonsensical statement. So actually, I'm not even sure why I brought up cyanide and B12 being a bad thing to begin with. I think I'm just stupid. Yeah, I'm just so confused by this. This is like me saying, hey dude, you shouldn't eat plants because they're poisonous. But some people say that it isn't all plants that are poisonous, just some. So just eat the ones that aren't poisonous. And I think this is nonsensical, but I actually agree with it. So yeah, I'm not even sure why I brought this up. Anyway, let's see if he redeems himself in this later clip.
Our water is full of fluoride. Our toothpaste is full of fluoride. But if you look at the fluoride studies in 3,600 municipalities around the United States, there's an inverse relationship between the concentration of fluoride and IQ.
Yeah.
As
low
fluoride
IQ.
goes up,
Yeah.
IQ goes down.
Yeah, we
Especially in
talked about that on the
prepubescent teens.
podcast recently. We were trying to figure it out. Like, what the fuck is fluoride doing in the water?
It's a neurotoxin, right? It actually, I think it was originally fluorohexene, which actually was a byproduct of fertilizer production. And they realized that when they kept the fluorohexene in the fertilizer, it killed the seed. So they pulled it out and they wondered, well, what the hell are we going to do with all this fluorohexene? Well, I guess we'll convince water municipalities to put it into the water, because there's a marginal amount of evidence that it can create a nanoparticulate layer over the enamel, and it could potentially prevent tooth decay.
Okay, so it seems like he is saying that even though there is a safe dose of things like fluoride, the safe dose actually isn't a safe dose because of some ecological association in some study he failed to specifically cite. The ecological association, which is extremely high on the evidence hierarchy, that was sarcasm, showed a relationship where as fluoride goes up in the water supply, IQ goes down. I don't know what study he is referring to, and I'm still confused on what he was saying about the dosage making the poison being nonsensical, yet he agrees with the notion. But anyway, the rest of the video is I'm talking about fluoride, and I really just wanted to talk about cyanocobalamin supplements in this video, as I know a lot of vegans who follow me take those supplements and many people fearmonger over them online. I want to quickly cover the toxic dose for cyanide, the amount of cyanide in the B12 supplement I take daily, and with this information, find out how many cyanocobalamin tablets I would have to take to reach the toxic dosage of cyanide. So to start, I've seen it range from multiple sources for what the toxic dose of cyanide is. I've seen anywhere from 0.5 to 2 milligrams per kilogram of body weight as the toxic dose. To be charitable, we'll go with the low end of the range of 0.5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. This would mean that a toxic dose for cyanide for a 70 kilogram person would be 35 milligrams. Now let's see how many B12 tablets I would have to take at once to get this toxic dose of cyanide. The molar mass of cyanocobalamin is 1,355.38 grams per mole, and the molar mass of cyanide is 26.02 grams per mole. This means that the percent of cyanide in cyanocobalamin is about 2%. The B12 supplement I take has 500 micrograms of cyanocobalamin per tablet. Given the percent of cyanide in cyanocobalamin is about 2%, we can infer there is about 10 micrograms of cyanide in one of the tablets I take per day. So how many would I have to take to hit the toxic dose? Well, let's use the 0.5 milligrams per kilogram figure discussed earlier for what the toxic dose of cyanide is and apply it to my weight. Right now I'm about 83 kilograms. So the toxic dose for me would be 41.5 milligrams of cyanide. In order for me to get 41.5 milligrams of cyanide from my B12 supplements, I would have to consume 4,150 tablets of B12 at once. Amazing. And here's something I find extremely bizarre about this Gary dude. On September 6th of 2023, he invested in a company called Skinny Dipped Almonds, and one single almond has more cyanide in it than the one cyanocobalamin tablet I take each day. There is about 25 milligrams of cyanide in every 1 kilogram of almonds, and 1 gram of almonds is about 1 almond. So we can infer from this there is about 25 micrograms of cyanide in just 1 almond. There is therefore more cyanide in 1 almond than there is in one of the cyanocobalamin tablets I take each day. So why would he sit here and fearmonger over cyanocobalamin tablets because of their cyanide content, but then invest in a company which sells almonds. Maybe he knows about the cyanide content in almonds, but thinks that chocolate will offset the toxic effect of the super low dose of cyanide? Who knows? All right, guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you support my work and want to get early access to it, you can click the link in the pinned comment and support me on Patreon. And if you don't know, I do have a book going over most, if not all, of the anti-vegan arguments you're going to hear online. If you want to get that as well, that'll be linked in the pinned comment. Lastly, there are 2 links below for vegan protein powder and vegan merch, both of which, if you purchase, will help support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Dude,
Fuck off, I don't want anything to do with you. Don't ever speak to me again. You're a fucking piece of shit.
even vegans don't get your weird, stupid wannabe sense of irony here. Who's your audience? Nobody gets these dumb jokes. Dude,